Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of Mango's Void. How are you today?
I'm alive. How are you doing?
Yeah, I am alive. Today we're doing a Q&A. I asked everyone on my story to send me your questions and you guys delivered. So let's get started with the first question, which is... how much suffering is too much suffering in a relationship? I really like this question because I think it's something that everyone wonders who is in a relationship or who has been in a relationship or who plans to be in a relationship. How much suffering is too much suffering?
You know, something that you say quite often is people like to moralize and intellectualize their feelings.
Yeah.
And I really think that kind of has no space in a relationship.
Yeah.
I really think the only question is are you having fun?
Yeah.
I never know how to answer this question. And by the way, this is the most asked question to AI right now.
Which
people
is
just
interesting.
uploading text messages and being should I stay? Should I
Yeah.
leave? This is clearly the thing that people want to know the most. And it's funny because it's the thing that no one can actually give you advice on because relationships are these personal experiences.
Yeah.
But then it's also weird because although you alone suffer the consequences of how good or bad your relationship is, there's also this externalized social factor of not wanting the cake on your face. Let's say your partner cheats and maybe you actually kind of want to take them back, but you already told your family or your friends, and now you're going to look like a clown asshole for taking this person back. So it just seems like a difficult combination of things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish that everyone would just mind their own fucking business for this reason so that people wouldn't have to suffer twice. But I think my answer that I always give people is take 2 months and every single day, the first thing you do when you wake up, ask yourself, am I having fun in this relationship? Do I want to be in this relationship right now? And then after those 2 months, add up all of those days and see whether you wanted to be in it more days than you didn't. And I think that's your actual answer. Because I don't really think relationships should be about morals, though you need decent morals or combined morals to stay in one. I also don't think it's about anything intellectual. In fact, I think intellectualizing your feelings is a part of why our generation is so cooked. I just think it's, are you having fun?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
You mentioned that the most asked question to ChatGPT is, should I leave my relationship?
Yeah.
And I think it's really telling that people would rather go to AI to ask for relationship advice than go to a human being.
Right.
I think that shows that there are genuine limitations to human relationships. But I also think it shows that the amount of privacy that is around relationships and marriages has made it so shameful to have any sort of problem. The reason we don't feel like we can go to each other with our relationship issues is because we feel this pressure to be in a good relationship.
Yes.
Which doesn't even really exist, you know? There's no one relationship that is just good times every day, you know? But we feel that that's what our relationship should be because people aren't public about what their relationships really look like. And I feel like we'd live in a much healthier society if there was a lot more transparency. That being said, I do think going to ChatGPT is a good idea.
Well, here's the thing. I think
it's the best thing we have so far. But I think what would be even better is if it wasn't shameful to be having issues in your relationship, and if everyone was more transparent about the issues they were having. So then we have a better sense of what is normal, what is not normal, what is healthy, what is not healthy, what are ways to get through issues, what are ways to not get through. Right now, we're all waiting in the dark by ourselves, trying to figure out how a thing must work. You don't even get a pamphlet. You know, when you get into a relationship, no one gives you a pamphlet. No one gives you a brochure. You don't get taught how to be in relationships in school. You're just thrown into the deep end by yourself. No wonder people are going to ChatGPT.
It's interesting. And by the way, you're right. And the closest thing to a pamphlet you can get are Parents with a Loving, Healthy Marriage. And how many of us have that?
Right.
You know, I think something that astounds me is how people can really do anything in their relationships and everyone chooses to follow the exact same path. And it strikes me as radically uncreative because how many of you actually wanted to do this thing?
Right.
And then when you really look at it, it really is just peer pressure by dead people.
100%.
I mean, that is what a lot of culture is, but at least a lot of culture has like a usefulness in modern life. This one seems to have fully fallen apart.
Yeah.
And, we always talk about how like all of our social institutions model the economic system that we're in. And it's crazy how many people hate the economic system that we're in, but still want to be married.
Yeah.
You hate private property, but still want to be married. And I also think that as this economic system ends, we're seeing a direct parallel with our romantic system ending. I mean, that's the birth rate collapse. That's the average person our age being single, going situationship to situationship. So I think now it's just actually about figuring out what the structure of new relationships should look like, which is probably radically different than anything that we're doing right now.
Yeah.
But also hopefully not regressing to a past that was worse than this.
Right.
Because the way I view it, it's like the past was basically polygamy.
Yeah.
And then we did this kind of Christian marriage thing. And I noticed that it seems as if people aren't going forward. They're just going back to polygamy, which I do think is worse than domestic cishet partnership.
Right.
But it might be the only thing that's worse than that.
Right. Yeah. No, I think, and to give a more practical answer, I think that there's a difference between unnecessary suffering and necessary suffering. There's a difference between avoidable suffering and unavoidable suffering.
Yeah.
And I think that unavoidable suffering in a relationship is like financial issues, job loss, fighting
jealousy.
about chores, jealousy. Everyone is going to experience that in a relationship.
Yeah.
Avoidable suffering and unnecessary suffering is like lying, cheating, betrayal, stealing, abuse.
Also just like personality conflicts. Like we don't like the same music. We don't like the same movie. We don't like the same food. We don't,
I have a friend who, she is dating someone who is a staunch, black-eyed, nihilistic atheist, and she's a God-fearing Christian woman.
Yeah.
And she wants to get married. He doesn't want to marry her. They've been together for 18 years, by the way.
Yeah.
They're just such different people. And the reason she stays is like, well, better the devil I know. He cheats on her relentlessly. He believes in completely different things from her. And she stays. And I think a lot of people stay because they feel like, well, we can work it out.
Yeah.
We can always, you can't work everything out. Like there's certain things that also, why bother wasting your time trying to work out a difference of personality or belief? Just find someone who's also Christian. If you're Christian, be with someone who's also Christian.
Yeah.
If you want to be married, be with someone who also wants to be married. Like people just suffer unnecessarily because there's this idea of like, you can work it out.
Right.
You can't work it out. Leave.
Yeah, well, I think that the ultimate trauma of not growing up with a good example, which I think the only pamphlet you get in this life is your parents.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have that, is really not knowing how to pick them.
Yeah.
I find that people spend far too much time trying to polish a turd.
Yes.
Like actually. Yeah. Instead of just picking something right. It's also like the number one thing people teach you in any kind of art school. Like, just make more idea. Don't try to polish a turd. Don't make a bad song and then try to like mix it into something good. Just make a good song.
Right.
Or keep making songs until you make a good song. But it's like, I never understood this idea of like wanting to be married so bad or wanting to be in a relationship so bad that you treat your life as this game of like musical chairs. And then when you turn 30, the music stops and then you just land with whoever you're with.
Right.
And then you're surprised when you end up in divorce court.
Yeah.
I guess I've never understood people who aren't picky, and then I've never understood the people who shit on people for being picky.
Yeah.
There's a fine line between being picky and being delusional, but I tend more on the side of being picky because I don't think you can polish a turd.
No, you can't.
I think you actually got to pick correctly.
Yeah.
And if you weren't taught how to pick correctly, then you got to figure that out at some point in your 20s.
Yeah. And honestly, you'll still be happier alone than with a turd. So that's why you should be picky. Yeah. Let's move on to our next question. Why is everyone suddenly having kids these days? It feels like a trend. Thank you for listening to the first half of this conversation. If you're interested in listening to the rest of this conversation, you will find it on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/bobosvoid, or you can just click on the link in the description box below. patreon.com/bobosvoid, or just click on the description box below. Thank you.